I see the polls, and the media's all in a tizzy. Oh, what's this going to mean politically? Well, let me tell you something. If Republicans want to campaign against what we've done by standing up for the status quo and for insurance companies over American families and businesses, that is a fight I want to have. I'll be out there waging a great campaign from one end of the country to the other, telling Americans with insurance or without insurance what they stand to gain.
Is Obamacare dead? I wouldn't bet on it. Following the election of Scott Brown, everyone got so excited because being the 41st senator, he would be able to block it in the Senate. But Barack Obama and the Democrats are not going to give up. While it is true that the House will not pass the Senate version of the bill, this does not mean that the bill will not be passed in the Senate. People think that Barack Obama is going to learn anything from this election. They're only fooling themselves. Barack Obama does not listen to the people. Barack Obama does not learn from his past mistakes. Oh, he's good at criticizing previous administrations. He's good at criticizing other people. But he does not listen to the people. Listen to his remarks on ABC the other night.
What is the strategy on health care going forward? A lot of people have talked about getting the House to pass the Senate bill.
Well, here's one thing I know, and I just want to make sure that this is off the table. The Senate certainly shouldn't try to jam anything through until Scott Brown is seated. People in Massachusetts spoke. He's got to be part of that process. I would advise that we try to move quickly to coalesce around those elements of the package that people agree on.
So did you actually hear what he said? The Senate should not jam anything through until Scott Brown is seated. Wait till Scott Brown is seated and then jam it through. Yes, Nancy Pelosi said she does not have the votes in the House to pass the Senate legislation, but they've already passed their bill in the House. And now they're talking about using reconciliation in the Senate to jam it through, meaning that Scott Brown could not block it anyways because they will only require 51 votes. It is against the Senate rules to do such a thing, though, because reconciliation rules are only for budgetary items. Budgetary items that do not exceed a 10-year period. This is why Bush's tax cuts are expiring this year, because he used reconciliation to pass those tax cuts. And that is the limit placed on bills passed by reconciliation. They cannot affect the revenue or the expenditures of our nation by more than 10 years. Well, I believe that the Senate is going to disregard that rule and attempt to push it through anyways. Additionally, I'd like to point out that the Constitution states that any bills that have to do with the revenue of our country, which certainly Obamacare would, those bills have to originate within the House of Representatives. So in other words, the Senate version of the bill, even if the House was willing to pass it in total, is illegal according to the Constitution. The bills have to originate in the House of Representatives.
And, you know, if there's one thing that I regret this year is that we were so busy just getting stuff done and dealing with the immediate crises that were in front of us, but I think we lost some of that sense of you know, speaking directly to the American people about what their core values are.
You'll note he said speaking to the American people about what their core values are. Speaking to them about what their core values are. Not listening to them and asking what their core values are, telling them what their core values should be. Listening to Obama lecture us and tell us what we should care about. instead of listening to us. And even after this election, this is his comment. He regrets that he did not speak to us more. Not listen to us, speak to us. And this is exactly what he intends to do now. And you'll notice in the previous clips how he still is talking about how this has to be done in such a hurry. Take what everyone agrees on now and cram it through. And I have no doubts that if the reconciliation process does not work, that he certainly is not going to give up. The Democrats are not going to give up. They're going to be sneaking little parts of this bill through as amendments to other bills, paragraphs in other bills, bit by bit, piece by piece, sneaking this in until it gets done. Not because the American people want it, but because Barack Obama wants it. I'm reminded of a song that Johnny Cash did years ago, claiming that he was working at a Cadillac factory and that over the years he had piece by piece snuck out parts of a Cadillac week after week, month after month for 10 or 20 years, and finally when he retired he was able to assemble it. You can imagine what a monstrosity it must have been to have a big fin on one side in the back and different taillights on the other side, all the fenders, all the doors from different years. Well, that's what the Democrats will be doing. They will be assembling a monstrosity, not because you want it, but because this is what they want. Thanks for listening.
I'll be out there waging a great campaign from one end of the country to the other, telling Americans with insurance or without insurance what they stand to gain.